Hello and welcome to the Games Are Fun podcast. My name is Luke Armstrong and I'm your host. Joining me today is my awesome co-host Adam Beagle. Adam, how's it going?
It's going well. It feels good to finally be back on I guess like a regular podcast.
Yes, it's been like 3 weeks. We did a Sea of Thieves stream on our Twitch channel in place of a podcast one week. Then the next week we kind of did a podcast inside of Sea of Thieves, which went pretty good. Actually, it went better than I expected it to be, if I'm going to be
Yeah,
completely
not bad.
honest. And then after that, we had uh, we kind of like had a podcast plan, but then we were going to reschedule it. And then Steven went on his Twitch channel and did a basically a Final Fantasy episode because I mean, what else is he going to talk about, right? Between that and No Man's Sky. So, yeah, if you like Final Fantasy 14, you kind of got an episode last week. But anyways, we're finally back. It's good to be back. This episode is special because we have a special guest joining us on this episode of Games Are Fun, and that is our friend of the show. He's a big community member for the Games Are Fun podcast, and that is none other than KneeSean. KneeSean, how's it going, man? Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me, Luke. Adam, big fan of the podcast. I'm glad I could step in for Steven here and chat video games with you guys tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me just say it's a real pleasure to have you on the show. Our lazy intern Steven couldn't be bothered to show up tonight.
yeah.
He's just off doing his own thing. He's doing shows on Sundays. He's not showing up for episodes on the regular recording day. So we appreciate you being here, Nishan, and filling that role for the lazy intern.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll go fetch your coffees if you need me to.
So, this full episode 121, which is pretty crazy. When I was putting that in today, I was like, wow, 121 episodes of Games Are Fun podcast. What is it going to entail? Well, we are going to be starting off with talking about the Indie World, the Nintendo presentation that aired yesterday at the time of this recording. And we're going to go through all those announcements, share our thoughts, share our opinions on games that stood out to us and games that we wanted to, just share a couple tidbits on. And then after that, we're going to go into kind of a more open topic, less news focused, and we're going to be sharing our gaming turn ons and turn offs. So we'll have Adam kind of clarify when we get to that section what that's exactly going to look like, but you can pretty much just use common sense that we're going to be going through all three of us what we like in video games and what we don't like. And I mean, like, not this like things that kind of just annoy us. I'm talking like things that are big turnoffs and big things that like make us attracted to a game. What systems or specific things in a game are making us want to go and play it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We've had that kind of topic idea brewing for quite a while now, and so it's great to finally be able to share that. But before we get to the all of that awesome content, we want to remind you that Games Are Fun is a weekly podcast. Each week, Adam, myself, and Steven join together to talk about video game news, trendy industry topics, and reviews on recent game releases. The podcast airs every single week. It's available on all major podcast platforms. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. All you have to do is just search for Games Are Fun or Games Are Fun podcast in your podcast platform of choice, and we should be able to pop up on there. You can also find video versions of these episodes on the Games Are Fun YouTube page. So if you're listening to the show right now, go into that show notes, find that YouTube URL, go over there and hit subscribe. We don't have a custom URL because we only have 21 subscribers on that YouTube channel. So if you're listening right now, I know you have a YouTube channel. You're already listening to our content. So go and support us over on YouTube because we're posting these video streams that we're doing on Twitch over on YouTube. The Level Grinders podcast is in there. Adam, Steven have, Adam specifically, you've captured gameplay for some of these Level Grinder podcasts to share alongside the show. So yeah, we got stuff going over on our YouTube channel. We want to make sure that you guys are catching our content over there. And then of course, twitch.tv/games are fun podcast. This episode is being streamed live over there. So you're missing out. If you're on the podcast I mean, we love you guys. You guys are our bread and butter. That's where we started. But just remember that at the beginning of this year, we started streaming all these podcasts episodes over on our Twitch channel, and it's just a lot of fun. You can hang out with chat with some of the other community members and kind of be a part of the show live. So make sure you try your best to catch us on the next episode. At the very least, head over to twitch.tv/gamesarefunpodcast and give us a like over there. And then lastly, I have only one housekeeping note, I think. I'm going to plug this again. Actually, you know what? I'm going to get you, Adam, to plug it, and that is the most recent episode of Level Grinders. What's that all about?
Yeah, so me and Steven, we decided to talk about Super Mario RPG, a very great, well done RPG that came really late in the Super Nintendo's life cycle and was just kind of one of those sort of defining RPGs of my childhood that I just absolutely adored. When we did the recording, it was the month of the 25th anniversary of the game, so we figured it was a pretty apt time to bring it in and talk about. And yeah, it was you know, it was such a great episode. We had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, if you like Super Mario RPG, or if you don't know a lot about it and you want to know a little bit more, you can come in and you can hear our thoughts on the game. You can see a little bit of gameplay, and just a heads up, the footage that I captured was from a randomizer, Super Mario RPG randomizer. So it may look a little funny if you haven't played the game, you're not familiar with it. There's some graphical things that go along with the randomizer, but it was a lot of fun to capture, and it was a great episode to talk about that game.
Yeah, Super Mario RPG is like a game that I just wish wasn't on, like it wasn't locked on that console, because I would really like that to. Is it because it's not on the SNES Virtual Console, right?
No, it's
Yeah,
not on.
yeah.
It's not on the Switch Virtual Console. It is, I believe, however, on the Super Nintendo Classic or SNES Mini or whatever they call it,
Right,
the thing
right,
that
right, right.
Nintendo officially put out. It is on there, but it's not on the Switch for whatever reason. Nintendo, get it on the Switch so people can play this game. It is on the Wii U eShop though.
Of
So if you have
course.
a Wii U, I mean, who has a Wii U? But if you have a Wii U, I know BLP Entertainment, he's got a Wii U. If you haven't played that game, go get it.
There you go. All right. Do you have any hints for what you're looking at for episode 4 of Level Grinders that you're gonna share?
I
Or you're
don't know
still
that I
trying to figure it
have.
out?
Yeah, so I think this month, April, is going to be sort of a month off.
Hmm.
Like you said at the top of the show, or maybe it was in our pre-show. The month of March was pretty brutal. So even just getting that Super Mario RPG show put together was a little bit painstaking, or it was a little tough to fit it in. And then, of course, Luke, you and I know that we went through hell trying to get that show like edited and posted and everything.
Pretty much every
Um,
episode.
yeah, I don't know what it is. It's the back portion of it, like the back end of Level Grinders, is just cursed. The episodes are great, but the effort that it takes to get it posted and edited and all that stuff has just been a nightmare for whatever reason. I don't know, but we got it up there. That's great. This month I think is going to be a month off, and then in May I think we know what we want to do with May. We'll just say it's sort of another. I don't know that it's necessarily an anniversary of sorts, but kind of.
All right.
So I'll say that.
Okay, well, that's all you get, audience. So try to decipher that. It's sort of an anniversary, so
Yeah,
see if you can
there is
figure
a
it out.
significance of the month of May, the
All
reason that we're
right.
choosing the game that we're choosing.
All right, get to work, everyone. Yeah, so definitely go check that out. Level Grinders podcasts on all podcast platforms, and then, like I said, YouTube channel. All right, let's get into this topic, and let's get on with it. So, the Nintendo Indie World Showcase. This is, I think, maybe the third or fourth Indie World under that like title of Indie World, which is kind of Nintendo's direct that is focused on independent developers, right? And not only just independent developers, but independent developers that like span the entire globe. So Nintendo always has these really awesome indie world presentations that highlight developers and studios from all different countries, which is really great because a lot of times with these events, we get them very either Japan or North America. That's kind of what it ends up being. So I just want to commend that before we talk about the announcements, because that is one thing that, when we look at the other presentations out there, especially today in the world of the pandemic and how there's an increase in these digital events, like I felt this Nintendo Indie World was just like super quick. They moved through, the pacing of it was really well done. They didn't spend too much time on one single game. They didn't have too much time on like a developer interview. It was really well paced. So I'm going to turn over to you first, KneeSean. What did you think of this as a whole presentation?
I kind of forgot about it yesterday. I went into work and just hanging out, then went on the Discord and I saw BLP Entertainment was talking about. I'm like, oh yeah, the indie was today, and got home and turned it on, and yeah, it was 20 minutes, but it went by real quick. It almost like every minute and a half, 2 minutes, they were going to a new game. And then speaking what you said before, it really is an indie world because there were developers from Mexico, France, Germany that I remember just off the top of my head. So I'm really loving Nintendo's. You know, the Switch has been a real great platform for indie games, in my opinion, and Nintendo knows that, so they really lean into giving support to their indie developers.
Yeah, no, definitely. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, I actually really liked it. Just to kind of echo what you were saying, that it it was really well paced. I feel like it respected the the viewer's time in the way that it just sort of quickly shifted between games, but it gave just enough time for everybody to kind of see what each game was, or give it a little bit, just just enough backstory to understand what we're watching, what we're looking at, seeing what how the developer wanted to present this game to everybody. So I think they did a really great job with that. I liked a lot of the stuff that they showed too. There's so many games in here where I'm like, I'm interested in this. There were very few games where I'm like, okay, that's an easy pass or whatever. Most of the games I'm actually quite looking forward to. So
Yeah, I don't think for myself there was like a single game that looked like, oh man, that's rough. Why did they include that one in it?
right.
Because usually there's like one of those in every show that's like sticks out like a sore thumb. But yeah, there was a lot of great announcements. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go through all the announcements, uh, list their titles, and then we'll come back and kind of pick out the ones we want to talk about. So they open the show with Road 96. And then there's a game which is like a 3D runner game called Aerial Knights Never Yield. And then uh, we got a game called Last Stop and Hindsight, both Annapurna interactive games. And then we got Ollie Ollie World, which is, I guess, in this skateboarding series called Ollie Ollie. I'm not actually super familiar with the series, but kind of a skateboarding game. And then The Longing, which is a game where you basically wait 400 days in real time. So you play that game literally, it's real time and it's 400 days long. And that one's called The Longing. There is no game, Wrong Dimension. And then we got another trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I know there's a lot of hype on that game. Uh, Chris Tales, that's how it's pronounced, right? Chris Tales?
Chris Tales, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Chris Tales. Then we got Getsu Fuma Den Undying Moon. And then we had Aztec Forgotten Gods, Skull the Hero Slayer. And then we kind of got like a montage at this point. So the games included in that montage were called Art of Rally, which is a rally kind of drifting game. Kiwi, where you play as like kiwi birds and it's kind of like a puzzler. Labyrinth City, which basically looks like Where's Waldo. Weaving Tides, the House of the Dead remake, the railgun shooter, I guess. Ender Lily's Quietus of the Nights, all right. And then we got Beasts of Maravilla Island, and then Fez, which is long overdue to come to the Switch. I know that's on a lot of people's list of like, hey, bring this game, one of the best indie games ever, over onto the Switch. So that's making its way. And then they closed off the presentation with a one more thing. It wasn't Silk Song like everyone wanted, but it was a total surprise, which was Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals, which is a sequel to Night School's game, Oxenfree.
It wasn't Silk Song, but it ended up being a really hype announcement.
Yes, definitely. So with that, which one do we want to go with first? You got either you guys fight to take a stab.
Go ahead, KneeSean.
Yeah, KneeSean, you're the guest. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, I think let's get this one out of the way first, because I think a lot of people were hyped for this one, and that's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I think even like mainstream gamers that don't really go for indies, everybody grew up with the side-scrolling beat 'em up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games, and this looks like a return to form. This gives off major Turtles in Time vibes, and it like the art style just reminds you of the mid to early 90s. It looks like it's definitely going to have 4-player co-op, which is great for the Switch and getting people to do the online service for them. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm not usually a beat 'em up fan, but I'm a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan, and I'm ready to get in there and fight with anybody to claim the rights to Mikey.
I won't fight you for him. I'm not a Mikey fan.
Who are you a fan of then? Who are you going for, Adam?
So here's my dilemma, right? Because Raph is clearly the best turtle, but when it comes to these beat 'em up turtle games, like, you don't want to be Raph. He's got, the short range and everything. Like, you want to be Leo or Donatello. They're going to be your longest range fighters, or have the most, utility to them or whatever. So while I like Raph the best, I don't know that I would pick him. And Michelangelo, I as a character, I'm not a huge fan of. Like, as a kid, I loved him because it was, he's the party turtle. Like, yeah, pizza time, let's go. And then just, I don't know, as I got older, I felt like he was the most useless. So I didn't like him as much. And then I don't know, Raph's kind of like badass attitude, just, kind of resonated. I don't know. I just liked it. I thought he was cool. He was so edgy, right?
Yeah.
So as like I was getting older, I'm like, yeah, I like the edgy guy. And then I guess I still like the edgy guy.
No, I'm with you. I've always liked him the most too, for that exact reason. But yeah, this game looks really awesome. So I like, obviously this game. What was the one title, like, because this is very, it's like a spirit. Is it an actual sequel to a previous game, or is it?
I think it's just like a spiritual successor, or like just another game in that sort of same style.
Okay.
So it's very much like KneeSean said, like Turtles in Time, or like Turtles 3 on the NES would be another one that really gives off those vibes and has that same like aesthetic to it.
Fair enough. Yeah, we talked about it on the show, I think, previously. I would have to scroll back quite a ways through our Discord to find it, but I think there was a discussion going on in our Discord. I think it was BLP Entertainment and Anisha. I don't know if you were part of that.
Right. I think it was around the time that the initial trailer released for this game.
It was literally like days before. We were like in this chat.
You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
and
they willed it into existence.
Yeah, I think BLP Entertainment and myself were talking about like what games do we want to see on on the Switch online, and I forget which one of us mentioned like Turtles in Time, and then literally like the next day or 2 days later, the first trailer for this game came out.
Yeah, it was wild. I was like blown away when I saw that announcement, because I was like, okay, we just literally just now let's just talk about whatever game we want, guys, in the Discord, and it should come true. Yeah, at any rate, I'm definitely excited for that one. I think that's going to be a really fun party game. So maybe we'll have to get Steven, all four of us, we could stream that or something like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, how about you, Adam? What was one game that you wanted to maybe talk about a little bit?
So I just want to mention one really quick before I talk about the one that like I actually want to talk about
Sure.
because I don't think anyone's gonna pick this to like really talk about much, and that's Ollie Ollie World. Like I'm not much into skating games or anything, but this looks like I just really dig the art style because it's like someone said, let's make a skating game within like the world of Adventure Time. Like I'm looking at this game and I see the aesthetic. I'm like, this like just screams Adventure Time. And there's actually, I think there was another game that was in the showcase that reminded me a lot of Adventure Time. And I'm like, is this just like the style now? Like everyone wants to kind of be like Adventure Time or what? Anyway, the one I really want to talk about is Road 96. I think that just seemed, I really like the concept of that game where it's, it's sort of like this visual story. I'm trying to think of, what it maybe kind of resembles. And
It kind of
I'm sort of blanking
reminds
on
me
it.
of like a Life is Strange type
Yeah,
of
kind of like
game.
that.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like I guess first person instead of third person like Life is Strange. But it seems like, it's like a choose your own adventure, right? It's kind of going through and you're hearing this narrative of your character that you're playing and they keep, every time you see like that sort of VHS sort of like I don't know, screen sort of wiggle and like the colors or whatever, like that story changes. And so it's just kind of like you kind of choose where you're going, you're on a call with your mom or whatever, just kind of telling her what was going on. And it seems like the stories can just vary so dramatically. Like you could have one potentially where it's maybe pretty just relaxing and maybe it's just kind of like a nice casual little road trip where you find love or something like that and then maybe in another one like you're fighting in like a militia of some kind like there just seems like there's so many options and like this game could really take you anywhere and I like the aesthetic of it. I thought it looked very nice. It was a good art style. The landscapes that they had looked very nice. These sort of different routes that you end up on looked really pleasing and varied the way. So it's like you could end up in two very different
Hmm.
locations at the end of the game or on your travels, and things could look so much different with each playthrough that it seems like the replayability is almost endless. And I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I can't remember. It was one of these digital events from last summer, one of the many that existed. I think it was maybe Guerrilla Collective. I can't remember. There was one that was a little bit of a smaller presentation that I remember seeing this Road 96 game. Um, I think that was when it was first announced, and it caught my attention then. And then when I saw this trailer and saw kind of the gimmick of this kind of procedurally generated road trip idea, I thought that was really neat because it was cool when we had games like Life is Strange or the Telltale games come in. It's like this choose your own adventure where you can ultimately get these different endings. That's cool and all, but like they're just becoming more expansive, and I think this is one of those games where it's like it has different endings, but even the gameplay, the experience or the adventure you go on is going to be very different from player to player. With them, like you said, showing the cuts of like this scene at a gas station and then this scene at like a on the side of a road in the mountains or something like that, and this one is in the desert. It's like it's kind of cool. So yeah, that one's supposed to come out later this year, but I'm definitely going to keep tabs on it and probably pick it up if it's well received. I don't know if it's going to be a day one purchase per se, but it's grabbed my interest too. So
Yeah, I definitely like the art style on that one, and I think they like in the trailer they mentioned like over 140,000
yeah.
routes. Like so, yeah. Speaking to what you said, Adam, just the replayability. It's like each time you play it, you're gonna have a completely different experience. And then going
Hmm.
back to what you said about Ali Ali World, that was one that really caught my attention too, because I was getting Alto vibes from it. I don't know
Okay.
if you guys remember that mobile game.
It
It was
sounds
like
familiar to me.
Yeah, I know the name, but I don't recall the
you're
game.
just like a little Sherpa snowboarding down a mountain, and that's pretty much it. And I was getting major vibes from that in Ali Ali. So that's one I was
Oh,
looking
okay.
forward to Adam.
Yeah, and of course, as the resident Not that I skateboard anymore, but I was like mad into skateboarding and still am. Still like skateboarding. I just don't really do it anymore. I so if you actually go and look at Ollie Ollie and look at 1 and 2 and compare it to this game, like this game just stands out. Like there, I've heard lots of people like kind of asking about this game. It's like, oh, this looks cool. And it's like, well, this is part of an established franchise. And I was like looking at these other games, and once I took a look, I'm like, hey, this kind of vaguely looks familiar. Like the name didn't sound familiar, but this gameplay I'm watching of like it's kind of from the side perspective, right? It's not like a Tony Hawk game. It is from the side. But man, it looks really cool. And that art style, like you said, Adam, I think that's pulling in people to kind of check this out because look at these vibrant environments that you're going through on this like in this like island or this world or whatever that is just built to skate is pretty cool. So
Yeah, and it looks super smooth too. I know they even mentioned that in the trailer too. They're like, skate through these silky smooth environments or whatever,
mhm.
and it really did. It looked very very smooth, and I think that sort of helped make it look pleasing both aesthetically and gameplay wise.
Yeah, for sure. So the game I wanted to mention is the second game that was announced, which is Aerial Knight's Never Yield. And this is a 3D endless, well, kind of endless runner. I guess it has levels. It's not completely endless, but all you're doing is running and avoiding things that are thrown at you by jumping and sliding. So I actually got an opportunity to play this demo, and whoops, and because they announced that when it was announced, hey, there's a demo coming out later today that you can check out for yourself. So I got an opportunity to play it, and the demo consists of level 1, 2, and 5, I believe. Um, each level took me about 5 minutes to complete. I'm sure that was mainly because I kept crashing into things. But basically, what you're doing is you're running. And like I said, you're avoiding these obstacles. And so these obstacles are kind of color coordinated based on 4 moves you have. So you have jump, which is literally just jumping over the object. Like it's a kind of like a high jump up there. And then there's a left, which when I say left, I mean this is what you're doing. You're either pressing up on the D-pad or you're pressing Y on the controller. Those are like, or you're pressing B and you're pressing down or something like that. Like you can use the buttons or you can use the D-pad. I use the D-pad because it was easier for me. And yeah, so there's jump. If you press left, it's kind of like this like half jump, I guess, over shorter objects. Down is slide and right is kind of sprint through something. And that's all that there was. There was no like power ups. There was no special move sets or anything like that. It was just these moves. You run through the level. You have enemies that are like shooting at you. But again, like what's happening in the environment doesn't really affect you. The only time that you really have to be worried about that is when an obstacle's in your path. Because if you run straight into it, you die and you have to restart at the last checkpoint. So it was really fun. Where this game kind of is cool is like its art style is very unique. It's very bright, vivid color, kind of cell shaded in some way, and it has this really cool original soundtrack with a lot of like brass instruments, kind of like jazz, kind of hip hop, and it's really cool, the soundtrack, and that's definitely the one note I'll make that I really enjoyed about it. But the thing about this game, having played the demo, is it's a little bare bones. There's not a lot of content there for me to really justify picking it up. I think it's kind of fun to like play the demo and kind of see what it's all about, but I'm really not sure what the poll is going to be when this game releases. And who knows, maybe there are some like boss sequences that I haven't experienced yet, right? I only got to play 3 levels, but even that, the 3 levels they gave you, level 5 is just like a varied version of the second level. It's still the same location, whereas level 1 was a completely different location. So really it felt like I was only playing 2 levels. So at any rate, it's an interesting game. I was a little let down by it because when I saw it in the direct, I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And then I played it and was like, it's kind of mess. So I'm
So
not, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm not really actually turned off by your description of it because it sounds like kind of what I was thinking of when I watched this trailer. I'm like, this looks like a more or like a different style of like Bit Trip Runner, which I'm guessing you probably haven't played that.
No, I don't think
It
so.
was a game that I really enjoyed. I've only played one of them. It was on the Wii U. Me and Kelly actually both really liked it, and it was kind of that same thing, right? Like it was more like it's a runner platformer, and it was sort of that like the difficult platforming elements that made me sort of keep coming back to it and made me actually really enjoy it. It was nice in that game. I don't know if this one works the same way, but in Bit Trip Runner, when you would do certain things, if you did a slide or you did a jump or whatever, it was creating music as you did that, or the music was playing along with what you were doing. And so it kind of helped create a little bit more atmosphere with with the running that you were doing. But yeah, the controls were very simple. It was essentially just slides and jumps and you know um I don't even know what else. It was very basic, but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it because of the setting and because of the music that sort of and the I guess the difficult platforming because I am you all know I'm big into platformers and especially if they're, a little bit more on the difficult side, like I really like that too. So if this game ends up being something similar to that, I think I'll actually really enjoy it. So I do want to eventually download the demo and give it a try and see if it is anything like that because I really enjoyed that experience. So I might like this one too. And when I was watching the trailer, I'm like, that really gives me Bit Trip Runner vibes, but maybe with a more interesting soundtrack because, like you said, it has that original music in there. And so it really kind of stood out to me as a game that I wanted to try. So your description of it, while I get where you're coming from, it's not a turn off necessarily for me. I'd have to get my hands on it first to see if it's to make sure that the gameplay is nice and smooth because that was the one thing with Bit Trip Runners that the controls were very smooth and very tight and it made it a more enjoyable experience because of that. Like it wasn't all floaty or janky or anything like that. So if this nails the controls, the few of them that are there, I think it could still end up being a pretty good game.
Yeah, by no means is it a bad game. I guess if I could like make a list of things I don't like is the the platforming part of it is just like kind of boring, right? Like they don't add enough challenges in there. It is just those four things that I experienced. Like if they threw in other things in the environment that I had to avoid, or I should mention that there was three difficulties: normal, hard, and like an insane mode. So when you're coming up to these obstacles, it like slows down, and on normal, it would slow down like a solid what felt like an eternity before I even reached the thing. So it was like, okay, like I even have to wait in the slow mo till I get a little closer before I can actually jump, right? So I played on hard, and that reduces the amount of slow mo to like a better amount. So I do recommend that if you are playing the demo and you're kind of feeling like this is kind of easier, this slow mo thing, like because you try to sprint to because you're trying to get through the level as quickly as possible. So on those flatland stretches, you're sprinting. There's a sprint function, and then you get those slow mo sequences, it just kind of loses the momentum. So I would recommend going up on the difficulty, but definitely check out the demo if you're interested. Like Adam, if you're saw the trailer and want to check it out, it's a demo, right? It's a free download. It's an hour long, probably. You can just check it out and experience it yourself. And then I will just say it's baller as hell that he just called it his handle. Aerial Knights never yield. Like I don't know who Aerial Knight is personally,
It's
but the
like
fact,
player unknown.
yeah, player unknown or like Hideo Kojima presents or what a Hideo Kojima game. Like I just love how he's coming out here and being like, well, now you know who I am.
Yeah, yep.
All right, Nishan, was there another one you wanted to talk about at all?
Um, the, the big one that I like really got excited for was Aztec Forgotten Gods. I think a
Yes.
lot of people overlook this one because it looked a little bit generic in terms of like character design and like level design, but I was really intrigued by it. Looked kind of almost open world, at least open-ish world. It's a 3D action platformer. It looks like I'm excited for the movement options. Your character looks like she has this Thanos Infinity Gauntlet thing, and it can do a bunch of different moves, like used as a jetpack to launch into the air or run along walls or punch into the ground to get a bunch of air. And the boss designs looked really cool, in my opinion. And yeah, I'm a big fan of open world games and 3D action platformers. So I'm looking forward to learning more about this and possibly getting my hands on it.
Yeah, this one looks really rad too. Like out of not to like downplay any of the other games, but I guess it was like the one big kind of like 3D environment game that really, like all the other games are kind of that 2D perspective or that side perspective. And I'm not saying that those are worse than a 3D game, but it looks like a pretty robust game for indie developer. And I like that it is something a little different that we don't always see. Like I don't know, I can't think of any Aztec type of games out there to play. So I'm sure they exist, but it's cool that they're kind of bringing in a culture that doesn't really have a place in the video game space as much. So yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out for sure when it comes out. It's supposed to come out this autumn. Adam, does this one do anything for you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought this looked really good. I think when it first came on screen, I'm like, like NneeSean said, I'm like, okay, this looks kind of generic. But as the trailer went on and I saw a little bit more, and you see like the scale of the bosses that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
be fighting against, and you kind of see that little bit of like what kind of looks like an openish world to explore. And again, to just kind of piggyback off of the things that NneeSean was saying, it ended up kind of really getting me interested, and it is one that I want to check out. And I know I mentioned in I think in Discord, I'm not sure if, I can't remember if either of you said it, but it looks like Aztec God of War, which I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, yeah, getting compared to God of War isn't a bad thing.
yeah, definitely. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it just had that vibe, right? Like you're this person going out on like a quest to destroy the gods of this culture.
Yeah,
And so yeah, it kind of gave me those vibes. I'm sure there'll be a lot less gore and nudity, but it looks rad as hell. So
definitely. Yeah, BLP Entertainment in the chat says, I love anything that plays around with mythology. And I totally agree. And that goes back to my point again. Like, we always see games based on Greek mythology, or now we're kind of getting more Norse mythology games because
mhm.
of God of War and how that kind of triggered a bunch of other games. So yeah, give us Aztec gods, give us something different that maybe people aren't super familiar with the mythology around the Aztec gods. All right, Adam, is there another one you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I just want to maybe kind of give off a few, like
Yeah,
just name a couple,
sure.
just to kind of keep things moving a little bit. I'm really interested in Labyrinth City. I love the Where's Waldo vibes that this
Hmm.
thing gave off. I think that looks kind of interesting. I'd like to see a little bit more to understand the gameplay loop a little bit more. And then also Chris Tales. I actually got a chance to play the demo of this. I think the demo might still be available on Steam, but it seemed like a really charming RPG. It has some sort of time manipulation mechanics involved, which is always kind of fun. It seemed really unique from the time that I played with the demo. It's coming out this summer, so it's coming up pretty soon. Oh yeah, there's a demo for it on the eShop now. So even if you don't want to, if you haven't played the Steam version or you don't want to play on Steam or on PC, now you can play it on Switch. I might actually revisit the demo on Switch and see how it plays there. And then I also, this one, it isn't necessarily one that speaks to me, but I also just, it's bizarre and I kind of want to get you guys' take on it, is the Longing.
Yeah.
So that one where you're playing 400 days in real time to, I guess, get to the ending of the game. And it seems like in the process, you're doing very menial tasks, almost kind of like a Animal Crossing sort of thing. Like, because in Animal Crossing, the days pass by in real time. So it's kind of like that. This is the other one I was thinking of that sort of had that Adventure Time aesthetic to it as well. Some of the art style and things that they showed in there gave me big Adventure Time vibes. Um, and yeah, so I don't know because again, there wasn't a lot that made this look like, okay, this would be really fun to spend 400 days in, like Animal Crossing does, right? Like Animal Crossing is bright and it's energetic and it's alluring, and this one is very dark and sort of I don't know, melancholy. And I guess there's tasks that you can do within that world while you wait, but it just didn't give a really great sense of what you would be doing or what the main gameplay loop is, other than to just wait for 400 days. So I don't know, maybe I need to see a little bit more, but I'd be interested to see how many people get this game and how much time they spend within the game
Yeah.
during the course of those 400 days.
Yeah, that was one that I was really like intrigued by too. I'm not sure I would get it until I hear reviews of it, but if it's playing out in real time, I mean, it's going to be like mid-December before people are most of the way through the game at that
Well,
point.
yeah, I
'Cause
mean, 400 days, that's over a year's worth of
yeah,
time.
That's
So,
insane. Like,
yeah.
and I liked in the trailer they said something like you don't even have to play this game to beat it. So it sounds like once you boot it up, the
You
countdown
fire
starts,
it
so
up
you
and
could
then just
probably
put a
fire
reminder
it
on your
up, sit in
calendar
your
for
chair, and
400.
yeah,
yeah, that's
and then
wild.
see. But I mean, some of the stuff like it looked like at the start of the trailer, you're in like this barren room that just has like a couch and an empty bookshelf, and then by the end of the trailer, like that room has like crystals and pictures on the wall. So it looks like there's stuff you can do. I'm not sure what you can do in the game or like how long it takes, but it's one of those games I'm intrigued. I'm not sure like depending how much it is, if it's like $10 or something, I would definitely just shell that out to find out what a 400-day experience
Yeah.
would be like.
Yeah, I think it was a shadow drop. It was one of those games that released the day of the direct, and I went because I was also intrigued on like, oh, if this is a good price, maybe I could check this out. Like if it's $10 or something like that. And it was 19.99 Canadian, so it's probably like what, $15 for you guys. So not terrible. A little $20 for me though. I was like, okay, now we're getting a little too steep. But yeah, I want to see what reviewers say. It definitely looks like a game that you need a lot of patience to have, or like, I don't know. It's just kind of a cool kind of piece that obviously he had an idea. It would have been perfect to come out at like the start of the pandemic, right? Because then we could have just probably spent 400 days playing that
True.
game, right?
Yeah, totally. We'd
He's
be almost done now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Um, and I don't know. It seems also very like depressing as hell. Like
Right? Yeah, a
this,
little bit of that.
yeah, very like. And so I don't know if it's like a game, like if you suffer from depression, or we all have feelings of feeling isolated right now because of the pandemic. It's kind of like an interesting. I don't know. Who knows? I'm gonna keep my eye on it. I'm gonna check out reviews now that it's released, and I'm sure people have played it, just to kind of see what it's all about. Is it really just that? It's something that just kind of goes, but um, yeah, really funny game. Okay, I think what we'll do, just for the sake of time, is we'll probably wrap it up. I think one more game that I want to spend a little time talking about is Oxenfree 2. So, again, we mentioned this already, but Nintendo had that one more thing at the end of the presentation, and everyone going into this thing was like crossing their fingers for Silk Song. I know, Adam, you were praying for Silk Song. You've been praying
Uh-huh.
for Silk Song for like pretty much
For like a
every
year
yeah,
now.
exactly. And you know Nintendo's already announced, or they had the direct already. They now have this indie world that's two strikes. So I'm really hoping with the next direct mini or indie world that we can see that one. But the one more thing that they did announce was still really cool. So let me pull it up here. For some reason, it's not
So
on
while
this
you're
channel.
pulling that up, just to give a little bit of context and why hope is not lost for Silksong, is that a few years ago when the first Hollow Knight game came out on Switch, it was a shadow drop during their E3 Direct for that year. I can't remember if it was, I don't think it was launch year. I want to say it was probably 2018 when that came out. So the game had already launched on Steam and other consoles, I think. So it was just the Switch version of the
Right.
game that came out during that E3 Direct, but it was a shadow drop, came out that day. So maybe they're working on something similar for this E3.
Let's
We'll have to
hope.
wait and
Yeah.
see.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, that would be awesome. So, Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals. So, this was like totally unexpected. Now, I have played Oxenfree. Adam, you've played Oxenfree. Nishan, have you played
Hmm.
Oxenfree at all?
I've never played it, and I've never even heard of this series until I watched the direct.
That's totally fair. Not a lot of people know about Oxenfree, but those who played it would tell you that would tell you about it because it is one of those games that is incredible. It's just like the writing and the characters in the game is really cool. It's kind of like this 2D uh, mystery game, I guess, is the best way I can kind of put it. You kind of
Like
play,
somewhat horror, like it's spooky.
yeah, spooky, but like kind of like Stranger Vibes spooky or like X File spooky or, that kind of realm. So it's not like horror based, but it's kind of a thriller. And you basically play as like you're this group of teenagers. You go to this island and you start encountering some like supernatural events. You're trying to figure out what's going um, on this island and stuff like that. Very like well-contained story from start to finish. So the fact that we're getting a sequel is that's why it's surprising because it was just one of those games that was really fantastic when I played it. I really liked it. Um, I think I think I recommended it to you, Adam, if I'm not mistaken, like
Yeah.
as a
Hmm.
game you should check out.
Yeah, because I think I just gotten my Xbox One X
Right.
and Game Pass and everything, and I saw it on there, and then you were like, yeah, you really urged me to give it a try, and I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm really glad that I did give it a chance. So I'm very much looking forward to this one.
Yeah. They didn't really tell us anything about it. We just kind of got an announcement trailer. It's supposed to come later this year though, so that's pretty awesome. It's not a 2022 or anything like that. Um, Basically, it just follows the events of the first game. Riley returns to her hometown of Kamina, where mysteries revolving around yet more radio signals ensue. So it sounds like the main character that you play as in the first game, you kind of like experience all this stuff on the island, and then I guess you're going back home, and it's starting to happen there. So that kind of excites me because the island was cool because it's like this isolated kind of deserted island, like where you're not really encountering anyone on the island, but you're exploring all these old buildings and environments. So if they brought it into a place where there's more people and more things going on, more environments to explore, that could be really cool. So I'm very excited for it, and I definitely recommend to anyone who has not played Oxenfree or even heard of Oxenfree, like if you're like Nishan, check it out. Go look up Oxenfree. Maybe check out some gameplay videos to just double check it's your type of game because I know that the style and it is more of a narrative based game, and that's not everybody's cup of tea. But I guarantee you, like if you like a good story, you're probably gonna like Oxenfree, and yeah, and now I'm excited because that what was it, After Party, which was from the same developers,
Hmm.
where you basically go down to hell and you basically have to
Try and
outdrink.
party your way
Yeah,
back to the world of the living.
yeah, you gotta out party the devil. I played that game and that game didn't click, which was super unfortunate because I liked Oxenfree. So I'm really hyped that they're adding another title to now a
Yeah.
series.
Yeah, I got major spooky Stranger Thing
Yeah,
vibes from it, and I
Hmm.
really like the art style. It was kind of, real dark and not gloomy, but kind of like atmospheric
yeah,
almost.
Yeah.
for sure.
So
Hmm.
yeah, I'll definitely go check out some gameplay of Oxenfree and maybe dip my toes.
Yeah, it was a real surprise, that game. I didn't expect to like it, and then I ended up really liking it. I thought it was a really great game. Um, so NeeSean, just to give you a chance before we move on, like, was there any other games that you wanted to bring up?
Um, no, not really. A lot of them were all like after the ones we mentioned were all kind of like, oh, that's interesting. I I need more info to before I make a decision on that. But circling back, for when you mentioned Chris Tale, uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a big secret amongst the games are fun universe that I'm not a big RPG fan, but I absolutely love the art style from Chris Tale.
Oh yeah.
I think that was the best looking game they offered in the indie.
Yeah, it's a really nice art style. Whenever I was playing, like, it almost gives me like Samurai Jack vibes. Like if you took the art direction of Samurai Jack, but didn't place instead of like that really dark and gloomy world, you put it into a bright and vibrant setting. Like I feel like that's kind of where this would come in. And yeah, I liked the art style. I really liked the direction that they were taking with Chris Tales. It was a really nice game. Um, yeah, it is. I mean, if you don't like RPGs, though, I mean, play the demo. See what you think. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts because I really like the demo. I'm looking forward to the full game. It was supposed to be out last year, but then of course, like every other game, it got pushed back because of the pandemic. But it looks good.
So definitely a, what were we giving this? Like an A for Nintendo for this indie world? I think it was pretty good.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I think an A is definitely very fair.
Yeah, I think an A's fair. It was announced like quickly enough that people didn't get
Hmm.
their expectations too high for like all the Silk Song hype. But yeah, they everything they offered was piqued my interest. So you can't ask for anything more than that.
Absolutely. Nintendo killing it.
Yep. And it's good considering the Nintendo Direct that we got, what was it, about 2 months ago, didn't get received super well by a lot of people. And I think this is probably the opposite of
Yeah.
that. And which is great to hear because you love to hear about indie games doing well and getting time in the spotlight. I personally love indie games, so I'm glad this turned out as well as it did.
Yeah, definitely. Like in the past, indie games have never really had a spot on the big stage. And when they do, it's usually like, here's an indie montage. Here's like a montage of a bunch
Right.
of little games. And it's like, oh, that looks cool. Oh, it's gone. And then you know what I mean? Like you kind of like, you don't really get an opportunity to see them. So like, just like I said at the top of this, Nintendo, the format of this, what they figured out here just like checks off so many boxes. So as long as these keep continuing to like, they don't mess with this formula at all, like I think they'll just continue to knock it out of the park with that. All right, well, let's move into our next topic, which is our
Can we
gaming. Oh yeah, go for
pause
it.
real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah.
So just looking at the time here, and I don't want to super rush this topic. Do we maybe want to potentially save this for another episode? Because we ran a little long
Yeah,
with
we did.
the indie world,
Yeah, I
and I
was
also don't want the episode to be like 100 hours long
no, that's
either.
totally fair.
So
I think that's a good call. I was kind of thinking that too when you're like when you mentioned about, oh, let's move things along here. I looked at that. Oh my goodness, we're already closing in at an hour.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe what we could do is get NeeSean back, and we can, uh, and then we could also have Steven hopefully make that episode. And we can really make this like a big
yeah.
episode.
I think with the more people, I think we could have like a lot more conversation, and yeah, I think giving it its own like full episode, I think might
Yeah,
be
Yeah,
no,
I think
good.
that's totally fair. And we had
I just
talked.
don't want it to feel like an afterthought to the amount of time that we spent in
Yeah,
the direct, or have an episode that's so long that people don't. necessarily tune in for it.
Yeah, they tune out on the back half instead of
Yeah.
giving it its full attention.
And like I think our intention when we had first, or at least my intention, because I kind of came up, we had this other idea for a while, but it was more like, okay, let's quickly touch on Indie World because it happened, and then let's go into this, and it's like, well, there's all Indie World was freaking awesome, so like there's obviously stuff we want to talk about, but
Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
yeah, we can definitely do that. And honestly, listener, more reason to come back. Maybe next week we'll have that as the topic. We will have it though, definitely. So, okay, well, I guess we can just go since we're already at an hour. We could probably transition into like what we've been playing a little bit, and we can
Yeah.
kind of do that. So, KneeSean, I'm gonna turn it back to you and let us know what have you been playing recently.
This is perfect because what I've been playing recently is a bunch of indie games,
Oh,
honestly.
nice,
I played a short hike recently.
nice.
It was a indie game. I think it came out in 2019, middle of 2019, and it's been on my Switch and my backlog forever. And I just picked it up. You play a little penguin who essentially goes on vacation to this island, and you just walk around the island. Honestly, that like pretty much that's all you do. You don't you have one objective, and that's to reach the top of the island because you don't have a lot of cell phone reception, and only the peak of the island has good reception. But so that's the main story, but everything you do to get to the top of the island is up to you. There's many different paths you can take. There's lots of NPCs you can interact with and do like fun mini games. There's a volleyball game you can play. There's like a long distance race you can do. There's treasure you can find, and just it was a fun time exploring the island. The story that is there is very, it's cute, it's touching. When I finally did reach the top of the island, my heart skipped a beat a little bit, and it's just a lovely little game. It probably only took me maybe an hour and a half
Yeah.
to do the whole thing, but I barely scratched the surface on all the little things you can do on the island. So I highly suggest, if you haven't played through a short hike, to pick that one up.
Yeah, it's Adam and I both played it, and I personally really liked it too for pretty much all the reasons you just listed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and uh, another game I've been playing was Superliminal. It's like a
Ooh.
Oh yeah,
I've been very interested
perspective
in that.
puzzle
yeah,
game. Uh, I've only played about an hour, and pretty much that first hour was like all tutorial stuff about the mechanics of how the world work and how some of the puzzles work. And it's really fun. It really warps your mind a little bit in terms of how you have to interact with the world. In case you don't know, you're kind of like in this weird sleep study program, and so everything's a dream, and you can manipulate objects in this dream. And based on the perspective that you're looking at them, you can change the size of these things, and you use it to do some platforming or to unlock a puzzle. And yeah, so far I'm having a lot of fun with it, and trying out the different perspective puzzles.
yeah. This game is on my list, probably on PlayStation, Steam, like every platform I've wish listed on, and I just need to pull the trigger and play it because it looks really
Same.
fun.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
for it.
I was just gonna ask Luke if he ever finished Maquette.
No, I didn't actually. I and not because I didn't like it. I think I was just like tired of like, oh, my mind wants to turn off. I don't want to think of like how to solve a puzzle right now. And then I just kind of forgot about it. But yeah, Maquette, I would like to try that because yeah, there's some similar perspective based puzzles in Maquette kind of, because it deals with another kind of thing of taking items and making them big and small based on like the gameplay mechanic. But yeah.
But yeah, no, Superliminal looks great. As you said, it's been on wish lists for me for a while, and I just haven't pulled the trigger on it, and I need to, because every time I see that trailer, I'm like, it looks so good.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely looks like, I'm sure it'll be one of those games, because I complained a little bit about Maquette with that too, where there was certain points, in the game where I felt a little dumb for not being able to complete the puzzle. I'm sure this would probably do the same thing for me, but I think it's probably worth it in the end. And if there's, more than one solution to each puzzle, like, that just would make it even better. Because I know Maquette, it was like single solution for
Yeah.
every puzzle, and that was a little bit of a turnoff.
For a fact, I was trying to cheese some of these puzzles in Maquette, just like, well, hypothetically, this could work if I try to do. Oh, game's not allowing me. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, those are what I've been playing. Also, always playing through Pokemon and some sort of the other, trying to finish my living decks. But yeah, those two indie games took up a lot of time this past week or so.
Right on. Well, that's awesome. Cool. How about you, Adam? What have you been playing the last little while?
Yeah, you know what I'm excited about? To talk about Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, here we go.
Steven's not here, so I get to take all his glory and talk about the game that he plays the most. Patch 5.5 came out, as he discussed in length on his solo episode of the podcast last week. It's amazing. It's so good. Patch 5.5 is so good. I'm not going to say anything about anything story related, because there's essentially 3 parts to it. I think 3 parts. You have your main story quest, the part that links all the rest of the previous story of Final Fantasy and sort of is going to be the bridge to where it goes in expansion 6.0. You have the completion of the Nier raids that were included in this expansion. So it was like a crossover raid between Final Fantasy and Nier Automata, which was awesome. Really great story. The raid in this one, the final raid for it, was some of the best. Sorry, I bumped my mic stand. It was some of the best content I've played in Final Fantasy 14 to date. It was absolutely amazing. And then there was a series of trials that ended as well, where you fight. If anyone's played Final Fantasy 7, remember some of those end game bosses, the weapons, your ruby weapon, sapphire weapon, emerald, diamond weapon, all of those you get a chance to see in the game. You only get to fight three of them. 2 of them are optional. 1 of them you don't get to fight at all, and then the other one is part of the story to beat. But they all come into play as special battle events within the Shadowbringers expansion pack. And Diamond Weapon was the final one, which was just introduced. And so each one has like a normal version and an extreme version. And so I've played through the normal version. I need to get my gear built up a little bit more before I can do the extreme. But I'm excited for that. I've completed all the other content up that was part of the expansion. So I'm pretty excited about that. The main storyline was great. Very exciting. It was really short though. It was very short. It's not going to take you long to get through the main story. However, the dungeon that was part of it was incredible. Again, one of the best dungeons that I played in Final Fantasy 14. So that was really good. And it's basically it's a setup for 6.0, which obviously because it's the last patch before 6.0 comes out. So I think because of that, it felt like an extended trailer for pre 6.0. So it's like, here's all the things you have to get excited for, but it does give you a couple really great set pieces within the patch. It was just very short, but it's great. I wish I could say more, but it just came out, so I don't want to spoil anything. So I'll just leave it at that. But it's fantastic. I've also been playing Outriders a little bit. They finally fixed the crossplay issue. So Steven, he's been playing on Xbox, his Series X that he got. I've been playing on PC, and the crossplay between the two did not work well at all. And they finally patched it up. It's working now. So we played a little bit this week. I'd like to keep playing. We were getting our butts kicked in a couple of those fights, but it was a really nice, it was a good challenge. So I like how that was going. We also partied up with another member of the community, Vincent.
Nice.
He joined us for a little bit in one of the gameplay sessions that we did, and that was a good time. I think with the difficulty that we're at, the world tier that we're in at this point, I feel like we need more than just the two of us because we are going to get whooped as soon as we level up to tier 8. It's going to be wild. So that's been fun. I've been playing as the trickster role, which has been really fun. I have a little bit of beef with it because it is it feels like the design is built around melee combat, but the cooldowns of the melee abilities and the amount of the melee abilities that you get, I still feel like I have to rely on my guns more than anything, which is a little bit of a bummer, but it's a neat class that I think could have been executed a little bit better, and it feels like a very hard class to play even in a group setting. It's been a little bit of a challenge because of that sort of lack of tools that I feel like it should have. Um, and like I said, I just end up having to use my guns. So not the way I want to play it, but it's still a fun game, and I'm interested in playing more. The other game I wanted to mention is Narita Boy, which came out on Xbox Game Pass a week or two ago. So I wanted to bring that up here. It looked really good. I liked the sort of presentation of the game. I like the art style. It's very, very pixel graphic. It even looks like almost like an Atari game. Like if there was a weird mid ground between like Atari and NES, like I feel like that's where this would fit in. And I didn't love it. The there was a little bit of platforming which felt very, very floaty. I hated anytime I had to do any sort of jumping mechanic because I just felt like I would float and I would not go where I wanted to go. It wasn't tight. Um, the combat was decent. I think the combat was sort of the bright spot in it, but it takes so long to get to that point where you're actually doing anything gameplay related. They dump a whole bunch of lore in the front of that game, very, very front loaded with lore, and maybe it is throughout, I'm not sure. But you're talking to people and they keep talking about like this sword of legend and everything and how you're gonna get it and you're gonna beat the bad guys called stallions or whatever. And it takes a really long time before you even get that sword. It's just kind of like one of those moments where it's like, just shut up, just stop, just stop. I just want to play a game, and you're throwing all this dialogue at me that like I don't need. And each room feels very small, and you're just constantly running in and out of rooms. And by the time I got the sword, it's like, okay, now you need to run back through all these rooms that you were just in. Nothing's going on in like half of them, and then it's very easy to get lost. There's really no map system, so it's like, okay, where the hell am I supposed to go again? And I'm sure there's a good game in there somewhere, but it just I couldn't deal with it. It was very badly paced. The movement was floaty and just didn't feel good. The combat was decent, but it also felt not also like something was just missing from the combat. Like it just wasn't all there. And again, maybe later on in the game, maybe it gets better, maybe it'd be more enjoyable. But from what I played, I don't really see myself going back to it, which is unfortunate because it looks really cool.
Yeah, that's really too bad because I saw this game and saw the art style, and it has kind of like this synthwave aesthetic that is just
Yeah.
like so my vibe. Like this art style, the enemies that they've like, I'm like, damn, this looks dope. But yeah, I was listening to Game Scoop and Damon Hatfield brought it up, and he
Yeah.
said very similar things. So having heard you kind of reinforce some of those points, I'm like, ooh, that sounds rough.
Yeah, and I don't think it's scored well either. Now that I think about it, I think review scores were pretty low, at least from IGN. I think they gave it like a 6.
Ooh, yeah.
So yeah, not a great score. I don't know where it got elsewhere, but yeah, I think it was not super well received, and it's a shame because I think if things were just done a little bit differently, I think that could have drastically changed people's opinions of it.
Yeah, it's too
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, that's unfortunate. We were just watching the trailer here for And for you audio listeners, come check us out on
Yeah.
our Twitch channel so you can see the trailer. But yeah, it looked really cool. So that's unfortunate that the gameplay lets it down so
Hmm.
much.
Uh, that was your last one there, Adam?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Last one, I feel like there might have been something else, but I can't.
Yeah, it's
Maybe not.
it's tough because like we've kind of talked about what we've been playing on like the Sea of Thieves episodes, but
Mm-hmm.
we haven't done like a review like this for a while. I don't have too much new really to share, uh, besides, well, I guess it's a little bit. So I obviously have been playing through Resident Evil 4 on my Twitch channel, and I finally beat it. It took me just under 20 hours to get through that game, which was pretty long and longer than I expected. But I also streamed it, so that's partially why. But overall, I understand why it's one of the most beloved games in the franchise. There's a lot to it. It's a big, lengthy game. You go through so many different environments between the village and the castle and the caves, and it's yeah, I really had a fun time with it. There were some things about the game, having played it for the first time in 2021, that I kind of am more forgiving because it's like, okay, this game's old. I talked about it on the show before, and I'm sure people who tuned into my streams, complained about the POV a little bit, the feel, and the not POV, the FOV, and it just it's that same kind of angle that RE2 remake, RE3, but for whatever reason, it just like when you were inside in tight rooms, it just frustrated me and how the camera worked. And so I found a mod, applied that. I found a texture mod, applied that. So I was really playing a pretty incredible game, as best as it can be played in 2021. So that added to the experience a little bit. And yeah, I really like it. I don't think I have any. I've unlocked some different modes that I can play it in, and I I don't think I would replay them. I'm just gonna wait for a remake with this game. And unfortunately, we don't really get the opportunity to get a Resident Evil 4 remake announced because we just had the Resident Evil event that happened today. And Resident Evil 4 made an appearance at this showcase, but it is coming to Oculus Quest 2. And so it's like, great. Resident Evil 4, a game that is basically on every platform known to mankind, is like now making its way to VR. It's like, okay, great. So I was kind of bummed by that announcement, hoping for a Resident Evil 4 remake fresh off this replay, but I really like it. I'm so excited for Resident Evil Village, considering Village has a lot of those vibes that, Resident Evil 4 had in terms of the environments and stuff. So really fun, but I'm ready for a break on Resident Evil. It's like, it's been a bit with that. So, yeah, so the next game I've been playing is a game that I started last year, and that's Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Picked it up again because I kind of wanted a open world game to play, and I'm making progress in it. That game is insanely huge. Like there's just hundreds and hundreds of hours of content there. I barely scratched the surface. But it's really fun. I got back into it, only played for a couple hours, and I like, bam, I'm back in. So I've been playing that actually for probably a good week and a half, just because I want something to play on my PS5, and I'm like, I haven't beat Valhalla yet. Returnal's not quite here, so let's go back to Valhalla and finish that up. And then next, my next game that I've been streaming on my Twitch channel is Undertale. So I got the idea to play Undertale because this is a game that I've wanted to play for a long time, right? It's been out for like this is going to be its 6th year that it's since its release. And I figured now's the time I need to actually play this game because people talk about how incredible this game is. I really like the art style. I was playing a game called Everhood that has a very similar art style to that. So I was kind of already in that mindset to play that type of game. And so I started on stream, and I'm not gonna lie, the first like hour and a bit of that game, I was just kind of like, I don't really understand what is going on with this right now, right? It kind of just throws things at you, and you kind of come across this combat system. And for those who aren't familiar, like these monsters that you encounter, you can attack them or you can like talk to them. and kind of figure out what's going on in this monster's life to try and get them to like back down and not fight you, right? So with that, there's kind of like an extra challenge, right? You can do the whole run killing everybody. It's like a genocide run. You can come in and save everybody. Like there's different ways you can play it. And let me tell you, the Undertale community on Twitch definitely came in and asked me many times what I was playing and this, that, and the other. And it's like, okay, Undertale fans are very passionate about this game. So yeah, I'm gonna see it through. It's only a 5-hour game. I can finish it up on stream, and so yeah, I think once I finish it, then I can have more thoughts. And then lastly, the game I really wanted to talk about quickly here is one that I just started last night, and it's a newer release, so I'm actually really excited to talk about it, and that is It Takes Two, which of course is the cooperative game that is from Josef Fares. He did A Way Out. He also did Brothers. And he makes these games that are designed to be played cooperatively, whether it is on the couch with, your significant other or a friend, or you can play it online. But the game can only be played cooperatively. So It Takes Two is basically about this little girl. Her parents are going through a divorce. She basically just wishes to this magic book that doesn't happen, and her parents get turned into two dolls that she made that are designed after her parents. And so the parents like find themselves like in their backyard or in their garage or in their house, but they're like really small tiny dolls, so like they're encountering all these crazy characters like for the people watching right now, like there's squirrels that they're talking to right now in this trailer we're showing off. When I was in the shed, there's like tools that have faces and they're talking to you and stuff. So it's very like kind of Pixar-esque, I guess, in terms of some of the NPCs that you interact with and stuff. But the game basically like, I was playing it with Meg. She played it as the wife, I play as the husband, and there was one specific level. We only basically did the first kind of world, I guess. And it was kind of like in the shed in this garage, and we got these tools to use, and Megan got like the head of a hammer and I got nails, and I could throw the nails and she could use kind of the hammer to like hook onto the nail and like swing onto the next nail and stuff. So like there's these cool kind of gameplay mechanics where only a certain person can progress, whether it's the girl or the guy character. I can't remember their names. So that's kind of cool, right? It really forces you to work together and communicate in order to do that. So yeah, I'm really excited because like watching the trailer, it shows all these really cool environments. And I've only experienced one so far. So like I'm so excited to go, and there's one level I saw that was like a ball pit, and there was like toys everywhere. There's outdoor levels. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this game expands, and I'm sure I'm going to be talking a lot more. In fact, maybe that's something that Meg and I could sit down and do a review episode for, since we're going to be playing the whole game together. But yeah, it looks great on the PS5, like 60 FPS, looks super sharp. It looks like I'm watching like a Pixar movie, and I'm just able to control it. So it's also, if you don't have a PS5 yet, it's still on the last gen consoles, and it looks great on that too. So yeah, try it out. If you are interested in buying it, but you're like kind of concerned, I don't know if I have someone to play it with, your friends play free. This is the great thing that they've done at I think it's Hazelight, Josef Fares, his studio. All these games basically, they're giving you 2 copies of the game. A Way Out was the same way. You buy that game, you get a free copy that you can give to a friend so that they have it and you can play. So they're removing those barriers to play it if cooperative games aren't your thing. And honestly, cooperative games, especially couch co-op games, are like something that just doesn't exist as much anymore. And so I'm glad that there's a studio out there, a developer out there that is specifically making games to be played like that, because games are fun to play with. Hey, there it is. Games are fun to play play with your friends, right? So give us those opportunities to play them, not just online. Bring back couch co-op, right? So yeah,
Yeah, it looks really cool. I definitely want to try it out myself. Watching that, I'm like, well, I wonder if that's something I could get Kelly to sit down and play with me. But I wonder if she'd be able to handle it. She's not a gamer at all, and putting her into 3D environments is usually a bad idea. So I don't know. I feel like that would be like the ideal game too, because there's like relationship building in that
right.
too, right? And maybe be somewhat relatable for like people in relationships.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm interested in seeing like where the story goes, because like obviously this couple's in the middle of a divorce and they've just been turned into tiny dolls. You can imagine that they're not going to be super cooperative, and so I just kind of seeing how the characters grow, and like is it going to have a happy ending, or they I would love for it to kind of to have more of a realistic tone, because the first hour of the game is very whimsical and very like family friendly. So if they could like make it just a slight more realistic in terms of like some of the subject material that they're talking about, like I think it would even weigh even more. So um yeah, so that's what I've been playing. Yeah, I'm just like counting down the days to Pokemon Snap, because that's like the next big release that
it's
I'm
so
pumped for.
close.
15 days
15 days, there
from
we go.
I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I feel like I'm gonna have to make a choice between Returnal and Pokemon Snap, and I don't know. I don't know how to make the decision on that.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I think I'm gonna get both because I'm sold on both, but then it will be a challenge of what do I play first. But I'm honestly
Yeah.
I'm gonna play Pokemon Snap first. I've been waiting long enough for that sequel. So
based on my getup, you can obviously tell I'm getting
Returnal, of
It
course,
totally
right?
getting
Yes.
Returnal, yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, that's what we've been playing. Let's go on to question of the week. So, KneeSean, you are the Q of the week expert. What do I call you? The Q of the week
Bizarre.
yeah, exactly. So why don't you take it away? Tell us what last week's question was, and we got a couple responses to share too.
right. So last week's question of the week, well, I guess it would be like 2 weeks at this point,
Yeah.
is what game did you start to play but for whatever reason fell off of, but still want to get back into? What about the game made you want to like get back into it despite falling off? And first reply from our Discord channel was from James Halliday, aka BLP Entertainment. He said Octopath Traveler. There was no definitive reason I put it down, just that life got busy and I didn't finish it. But I absolutely love the mechanics and stories. I'm excited to jump back in once I have more time. And then on Twitter, we have Midnight Burrito. He said, I fell hard for Last of Us 2. I just couldn't play it early quarantine when I was bummed out about a lot of stuff. May revisit it when we're not in a pandemic because I like the updated mechanics, the setting, and the writing.
Yeah,
So those
definitely a depressing game. So that's probably a good choice, Midnight. All right. Yeah, so James and Midnight, thank you so much for responding. Of course, Nishan posting that question for you guys to answer. So Nishan, what game is one that you've fallen off of but wanted to get back into?
I'm usually if I fall out of a game, like there's a reason for it,
Right.
and I never go back. So recently I haven't done that, but the one game that I remember big time was Breath of the Wild was one that I got like early on and I played it and you know it everybody knows early on in that game you don't know what's going on. Your weapons break all the time and you're just getting die every 4 seconds in that game. This is dumb. I'm not playing this, but like I put it down and every couple weeks I'm like I need to get back into that game because just the mechanics they give you and the open world that Hyrule is in that game, like it just draws you back and eventually you get back in there and you learn the mechanics and you upgrade your armor and it turns out to be one of the best games of not only this past generation but possibly ever.
Yeah, I don't blame you having that thought. I think a lot of people had that thought when they first got into it, and it was like what is going on? But then
I didn't have that thought.
I was like,
Just let me say.
well, I think for me it was
I
just like
understand though.
when you get off like the um plateau or whatever and get into the game and where it starts opening up, it's like, okay, now we're moving, now we're free to go. But that first bit, I was like, man, this is, I don't know what to think of this yet. How about you, Adam?
So here's one that I don't really have a reason for falling off on. And to say that I want to get back into it now is going to seem like it's because of something else that just happened recently, but I've been thinking about it for a little bit and I've been wanting to do it. Um, but it's going to totally seem like it's been prompted by something. So let me tell you, uh, so recently or just today, for those of you that are kind of funny, part of the kind of funny community, they dropped an episode of a sort of like little sideshow that they do called the Blessing Show. And what Blessing did is he went through and he found 5 incredible games out of dreams that he kind of showcased to the public and said, "Hey, if you've ever played Dreams, here is the advancement that people have made in making their games within Dreams that you should definitely go check out." And when Dreams first came out, me and Luke, we did sort of like a weekly thing. We would talk about the different Dream creations that we had played, the ones that we recommend that people should go and try out. And then that just kind of stopped for whatever reason. And I know we had talked about it a couple times. I don't know if it was either on previous episodes of the show or if it was just while we were, just chatting at some point. We were kind of talking about trying that again or just wanting to get back into dreams in general. And so that is one of the things I want to do is kind of maybe get back to um doing that. Maybe if it's not weekly, maybe it's just a monthly, and we talk about it at the end of one of our episodes, like, hey, go check out these dreams. And and maybe the time is right because the things that Blessing showed does really, I think, speak a lot into what those creations you can find, like all the great creations that you can find now. Because I think maybe it was at the point where it was still so fresh and there wasn't really a lot of content there to really look at and be like, okay, this game was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, we would typically have like one or two dreams that we could talk about on like our weekly thing, but it started to get thinner and thinner and things kind of started looking the same, and people were only interested in making these recreations of like superheroes that other people were doing. And everyone was just interested in making little mini games based off of existing IP, and no one was really doing their own thing. And it seems like that's maybe not the case anymore. So maybe now's a great time to go check it out again. So yeah, that's certainly something I would like to revisit.
Yeah, definitely check. I don't know when the last time you jumped on.
It's been a bit.
Yeah, I played around Halloween because I saw some advertisement of like this Halloween event where they were combining all these different Halloween or horror games.
There is a lot of horror games on there,
Yeah,
so I mean that's actually probably a really good time to that was probably a really good time to check it out. Yeah.
yeah, and I found some that were like just like exceptional. And I'm not saying that the ones prior sucked, but yeah, like you said, there were a lot harder to find. There was kind of like the 10 that stood out on the search page is like, oh, these got a lot of upvotes, so that's why they're so they got the upvotes because they are impressive. And everything else was just, yeah, shovelware. Most of these weird creations, it's like whatever. And now there's way more content. And the great thing about Dreams is people take assets that people make from the other games and they're putting in their own creations. So as time continues on, Dreams should only get bigger and better as there's more of a library of assets that people can put into their own creations. So yeah, I saw that. I actually watched that this morning too, and I was thinking the same thing, Adam, of like maybe we and yeah, it brings back a lot of good memory. And like you said, when
Yeah.
we used to do that and share the games, it was so fun because it was like this like swap where we'd be like, because it is sometimes hard to find some of these, but it would be like, here's games you check out, I'll check out these games, and then yeah, it's a lot of fun. So the game that I really enjoyed, but then just actually there was a reason I put it down. So the game that for my answer is Horizon Zero Dawn. And this game is a game that I really enjoyed when I got it. I was totally sold when that game was announced. All the trailers, everything we saw in that game, I'm like, yes, give it to me. Looks dope. Aloy killing these robot dinosaurs in this open world full of different kinds of environments, and let's go. And I didn't have the excuse of, oh, Breath of the Wild came along, because I didn't get a Switch until November. So it really was just, I think I just got burnt out on that game in the open worldness, where I'm like, and I put it down, and I was after several hours into it. And so I really want to get back to that game, especially with the sequel coming supposedly this year. But it's just it's daunting, right? It's an open world game, and yeah, it's not something that I've made so much progress on my first save that it's like to have to go. I couldn't pick up from there because it's been so many years, but I also am like dreading having to start from scratch again. But I do remember that part I played being fun, so I'm sure it'd be good. So yeah, I'd like to pick that game up some point this year when I find like some downtime and get that finished. Definitely before the sequel. So that's question of the week. Thank you guys so much for responding. Of course, if you want to know how you can take part in question of the week, we post a question every single week on our Discord server. So you can join that by going to invite.gg/gamesaretofun. And we post the question in there. You can answer and we'll read your responses on next week's episode, which brings me to my next point. We have a new question to issue you guys. And it kind of related to what we were going to talk about on the show, but I think we're going to be talking about that next week. So it actually lines up really well. And that is, we want to know what your gaming turn-ons and turn-offs are. So let us know what things in games really turn you off. Things that make you either want to stop playing that game, or you realize that game has that a part of it and you just, nope, I don't care how cool it looks, I don't want it. And then on the opposite, what are the things that really attract you to a game? It could be a gameplay feature, whatever it is. We want to know about it, and we'll read your guys' responses on next week's episode. All right, KneeSean, Adam, that's going to wrap it up for the podcast here. KneeSean, thank you so much for joining on this episode and talking with us. It was great to have you on. Where can people keep up with you?
You can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/KneeSean, or on Twitter at @knee__Sean, because apparently there are two KneeSeans ahead of me. So
Don't you just hate that, KneeSean? Great. How about you, Adam?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at AdamPalooza85.
You can follow me on twitch.tv/LukeTheLllama and at LukeAllenArm on Instagram and Twitter for the same reasons KneeSean mentioned. We're going after at LukeTheLllama on Twitter so I can get that domain. But make sure you follow the show on twitch.tv/GamesAreFunPodcast, where we live stream, twitter.com/GamesAreFunPod, or at GamesAreFunPod, and then YouTube in the show notes, or just search for Games Are Fun, and then join our Discord. I can't stress this enough, guys. We're having conversations on the Discord. The conversations continue after the show here. We're always talking on that Discord server every day about video games, about video game news, about food, about movies, TV shows, pretty much anything under the sun. We talk about it all over on that Discord server. So make sure you're coming and being a part of that by joining invite.gg/GamesAreFun. And that's going to conclude episode number 121 of the Games Are Fun podcast. Again, KneeSean, Adam, thank you guys for joining me on this episode. It was a lot of fun. And we will talk to you guys all next week. We'll see you later.